Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to review the Artisul D16 Pro pen display. I have already made an unboxing video a few weeks ago showing you the things included and talked about the build quality. Today's video will focus on the drawing performance and I'm going to show you the driver functionality on both Mac and Windows. Now this review is going to be a bit long, so if you want to save time you can check out the text review that I have already written. The link to the text review will be in the video description below, and if I have any updates to this video review, it will all go to the text review. The Artisul D16 Pro pen display is a 15.6-inch IPS panel monitor that you can draw on. Even though this pen display has the form factor of a tablet, it's really thinner compared to my laptop. It's actually still a monitor, so you have to connect this to your computer in order to use it. And right now I have it connected to my laptop. My laptop actually provides enough power through this USB port, so I don't have to use the included USB wall power adapter. And this USB also provides data transfer. This is USB type A, by the way. And this on the left side, this is a full-size HDMI. So that's the only cable I have to my computer. There is no cable clutter, so the setup is very clean. Design of the pen display looks good. I like the rounded corners, the matte textured body. There is already a matte screen protector applied on the display, and the anti-glare is not that aggressive, which is great because it still allows you to see your artwork. So right now I have the reflections of my window on the screen, and you can see the diffused light. It doesn't create that very strong white haze on the display. And this pen display has adequate brightness that goes through the anti-glare. Right now I have it at 80% brightness, which is quite sufficient for indoor use, even though I have very strong sunlight to the left side. You can control the brightness using the two side buttons here. There are 8 physical shortcut buttons on the side that you can customize to some keyboard shortcuts, and this is the control wheel with a button in the middle that allows you to switch the functionality of the control wheel. There's LED light beneath the wheel, so you can actually change the color of the LED light or just turn it off. Resolution of the display is 1920 by 1080, so it's a 1080p screen, and colors look good out of the box. I have already color calibrated this, and color support is actually quite good. 100% sRGB, 85% Adobe RGB, and 83% NTSC. Overall build quality of the pen display and the pen, fantastic. Official retail price, US $379. This is the Windows driver version 3, downloaded from Artisul's website, dated 25th November 2019. The driver functionality on Windows and Mac OS pretty similar. I will talk about the differences when the differences matter. So here you can customize the 8 physical shortcut buttons, and if you are left-handed, you can actually assign the hotkeys to the right side so that you can turn the pen display 180 degrees. Let's take a look at some of the shortcuts you can customize. So they have already provided predefined shortcuts for Photoshop, Illustrator, Clip Studio Paint, and Corel Painter. If you want to assign specific shortcuts, you can do so. Just click the custom button, but you can only choose the keys that are provided here, and these keys here, they are not all the keys you find on the keyboard, so some keys are missing. For example, this plus or equals button, it's not on the list, so I cannot assign a shortcut like Control plus to zoom in. The only button that I have here that's close to plus is add, and this add, it's not the same as this button. So there will be certain keyboard shortcuts that you will not be able to create. I wish Artisul had given you the option to actually just input the key yourself rather than choose it from a list. This LED control shortcut is locked to the last physical button, so there's no way to customize this. So technically speaking, you only have access to 7 physical shortcut buttons. If you are left-handed, you can change the orientation of the hotkey here. Another shortcut you can assign to the button is this full screen cursor. If you are using 2 monitors, this shortcut allows you to move the cursor from one screen to the other, and it works quite well. You can also customize the control wheel or the scroll down. There are 3 preset shortcuts: scroll up and down, Photoshop redo, undo, and increase and decrease brush size. You can turn them off, or if you want to add additional shortcuts, you can do so by choosing from the predefined shortcuts here. There is no way for you to customize specific keyboard shortcuts to the buttons. So if you want to rotate your canvas, if there's a shortcut to do that, you won't be able to do that. You can also choose not to use the wheel and turn it off by using dull, and in this case here, for some reason it maps the control to changing the volume. This is where you can customize the pen. You can customize the 2 side buttons to different mouse clicks or to toggle between pen and eraser. And this is where you can adjust the pressure curve using the slider. You cannot plot points on the pressure curve. You can only control it using this slider. And this pen supports slightly over 8,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. It's a very sensitive pen. And there's this option here that says support digital ink. If you check this checkbox, you will not be able to select text by dragging the cursor over text. So I have this turned off. Next, we have calibration. So you can go with the default calibration, or you can calibrate the pen. This pen display features a laminated screen, which is to say that there is no gap between the glass surface that you're drawing on and the actual screen beneath. So in theory, the cursor should always be directly beneath the pen tip, but unfortunately there are some misalignment issues. The misalignment is more obvious when the pen is near the edge of the display. For this unit that I have, it's to the right side of the display. So for example, I may want to click this button here to create a new layer, but the actual cursor is above the delete layer button. So you can see the misalignment is quite significant. The misalignment increases here in this area, about 1 centimeter away from the right edge. So when I need to click on the scroll bar or click on the buttons or click on the expand button here, I have to go very slow to make sure that I'm actually clicking on the right button. So if I click the expand button, I may actually click the cross button here. There is slight misalignment on the left side as well, but it's not as bad compared to the right side. I went online to do a search and see if there are any other people with the same problem. On Amazon, there is a customer who reported the same problem. The calibration software here doesn't really work. I mean, it works in a way that it will calibrate, but it's not accurate, so the cursor will not be beneath the pen tip. I may have found a fix to the misalignment problem. So I went into the driver to turn the orientation 180 degrees and 180 degrees back, and now you can see the misalignment is gone for some reason. Let me show you the laminated display up close. Because there is no gap between the glass surface that you're drawing on and the actual screen beneath, it will seem like the line is directly beneath the pen tip. Initial activation force is very minimal. So right now I'm drawing with the least amount of pressure and I can get a very thin line. This pen is very sensitive. This app that I'm using now, this is Misalignment Paint Pro, and pressure works quite well. It's also very responsive. The lines, they taper very nicely and it's quite accurate without the misalignment. By the way, this pen display, it doesn't support any touch features, so you cannot use this to zoom, pan, or rotate. Now you can expect this sort of performance with all the other apps that I'm going to show you, like Photoshop, Krita, and Clip Studio Paint. This is Photoshop, and there is some input lag. So Misalignment Paint Pro, by comparison, it's more responsive. But as you can see, pressure works here, and pressure sensitivity works really well. Let's try some dots. With Photoshop, you have to turn on support digital ink, but when you turn this on, you won't be able to select text with your cursor. This is Clip Studio Paint on Windows. This is very responsive. Pressure sensitivity works really well. And the side buttons here, I'm using this to undo currently, so it works. And they have a nice feedback when you press those buttons. And you can use the control wheel to change the brush size, and this is quite responsive. Oops, a bit too big. Let me just zoom in here and make this brush a bit smaller. Clip Studio is a joy to work with, and it's great for quick sketches. To get pressure working properly with Clip Studio Paint, I'm actually using these settings. I have WinTap turned on and use mouse mode in setting of tablet driver. Without those settings, when I'm drawing on the left side, the cursor will appear on the right side, and when I'm drawing on the right side, the cursor will appear on the left side. And pressure won't be working, so I need those settings as they are. The last app I want to show you on Windows is Krita. Pay attention to the shape of the cursor. Let me just increase the size of the cursor using the scroll wheel. So there is tilt sensitivity. Let's draw a few lines. There is tilt and pressure that can work at the same time. So let's have some horizontal strokes where the line is darker at the top. And now the line should be darker at the bottom. Krita is fairly responsive as well. Pressure sensitivity also works with Adobe Illustrator and Affinity Photo. And now I'm using Photoshop on Mac OS. By the way, drawing performance on Windows, it's much better compared to on Mac OS. Here I'm trying to create some lines with uniform thickness, and you can see there's jitter. And the line variation is very inconsistent. It's not predictable at all. If I draw a bit faster, yes, I can get better lines. The lines, they do taper quite well, but when I draw a bit slower, is this inability to maintain the consistent pressure that is very frustrating. And these are the lines with Photoshop Windows. So I'm able to maintain consistent pressure more easily compared to Photoshop Mac. Quick lines are still looking great, but for slow lines, these are better compared to Photoshop on Mac. So when you're drawing with Photoshop, sometimes there is the jitter and it's very frustrating. See this eyebrow here? It should be a smooth curve, but it's not. And this nose here, this should be smoother, but it's not. This is Misalignment Paint Pro. The lines taper nicely, but I can see some jitter issues. Let me zoom in for you. Oops. So you can see some jitter issues here. And here. And here as well. Misalignment Paint Pro does a better job at maintaining consistent pressure. Misalignment Paint Pro is more usable for me compared to Photoshop when it comes to drawing. Clip Studio on the Mac performs better compared to Misalignment Paint Pro and Photoshop. Here it's very responsive. The lines taper very nicely. Pressure sensitivity works great. And the lines, they always come out the way I expect them to. There are no surprises. So for example, when I draw a very long line, I don't see the line jittering. This performs so much better compared to Photoshop and Misalignment. Pressure works with Krita on the Mac as well. Krita performs quite well when it comes to drawing. The lines taper quite nicely. And the jitter, it's not as obvious compared to what you get with Photoshop. Pressure works really well. The best drawing apps on macOS would be Krita and Clip Studio Paint. The pen is very sensitive. Alright, to conclude this unit that I have here, it has some issues with misalignment. I did find an unofficial fix for that, but hopefully Artisul can come out with a driver in the future to address that problem and improve the calibration functionality with the Windows driver. Drawing performance is better on Windows compared to Mac OS. At the time of this review, I'm not sure if I can recommend this pen display for Mac OS users, unless you work primarily with Clip Studio Paint and Krita. For Windows, it works well with all the drawing software that I have tested, so no issues there. But the main thing really is the misalignment, especially at the right edge there. Design and build quality are both top-notch, so nothing to complain about there. And oh yeah, the matte surface screen, it's really nice to draw on, and it doesn't attract any fingerprints, which is nice. And this display doesn't use a lot of power, so it doesn't really heat up. You can draw on this for hours without feeling uncomfortable. Alright, so that's it for this review. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. If I have any updates to my review, I'll put all that in the text review. Links in the video description below. See you in the next video. Bye!